Hey guys, Joe Tunney here at Infiniti of Kirkland in Kirkland, Washington, just outside of Seattle. And over the past week or so, we've had the unusual good fortune of taking in some really low mile trades in this 2014 Infiniti Q60 S all-wheel drive. Has just 1,000 miles, so probably the lowest mile one of the bunch. And certainly the most loaded way that you can get a Q60, formerly known as the Infiniti G37 until 2014, and now newly named the Q60. This one is a Q60S, S meaning sport, and it's also all-wheel drive. We used to call those G37Xs, now it's just Q60S all-wheel drive. So sport, what is it that makes it a sport? Well, it has the 19-inch alloy wheel, so distinctive look from the smaller wheel, more basic model of the coupe. And then it has a different interior with sport seats, and it has a limited slip differential. For those of you who don't know exactly what limited slip differential is, in the old days they used to call it posi traction, and it allows the rear wheels to have individual speeds. Essentially, the torque is split between each of the rear wheels, and so it was designed, believe it or not, it was designed by ZF for Porsche probably 80 years ago or so. They discovered when you go racing off-road, when one wheel gets off of the ground, that might be the wheel that's getting all of the power, and so you lose a ton of performance in such a scenario. And so they realized if you could just split the power between the two wheels, you could have ideal momentum going for both wheels. And that also applies when you're taking turns fast, that one wheel might be getting a lot of weight loaded up onto it, or other forces might be affecting it, where if you could just split that power between the two wheels, you'd get a lot better performance. So the sports package has that posi traction or limited slip differential, and then of course it's all-wheel drive. And you may be thinking to yourself, and logically so, if this car's already got all-wheel drive, what do I care about having limited slip? Well, that's really the big difference between Infiniti's all-wheel drive and pretty much everybody else's all-wheel drive, namely Audi's Quattro or Acura's advanced all-wheel drive. Most of those cars start off as front-wheel drive cars, and then they add an all-wheel drive component to them to give them much better handling prowess, not just in the rain, but it just, a lot of times all-wheel drive simply handles better, especially compared to front-wheel drive. That's not actually the case with a rear-wheel drive car. A rear-wheel drive car, that's totally ideal. An engine in the front and the rear wheels driving the car, that's the best way to get the best performance out of a car. And so with Infiniti's all-wheel drive, unlike say a Quattro, it's just not on all the time. In fact, it's hardly ever on. It's in rear-wheel drive all of the time until you come to a stop. And so you're at the stoplight, and you punch it right from the word go. Up until about 4 miles an hour, you're completely in all-wheel drive. But as soon as you get any kind of pace going at all, it's going to turn off that all-wheel drive feature and go exclusively to rear-wheel drive. And 99% of its life, it's going to live in rear-wheel drive. It knows if, you know, in the old days you'd have traction control, and you still have traction control still, but if you lose any kind of traction whatsoever, the light would come on your gauge cluster, and the engine would actually shut down power a little bit to regain traction. Well, in the case of Infiniti's all-wheel drive, instead of doing that, what it does is it converts it from rear-wheel drive to all-wheel drive just like that. And so it's checking this, and it says it checks it like 12 times a second, but in the modern computerized age, it's probably checking it hundreds of times a second. And if it's noticing any slip of any kind, it's automatically going to convert the car from rear-wheel drive to all-wheel drive, just like that. But because it's used so little, you could read every forum in the world. They may say whatever, the car's too small, or they need a new body style, or whatever negative thing that people have to say to get on the internet. But you'll never hear anything bad about our all-wheel drive system. Having worked here for 10 years, I've never heard of one breaking ever. And I'm not saying that it's never going to happen. And maybe it'll happen to this car, knock on wood, but I literally have never heard any problems with our all-wheel drive system ever. It's simply as bulletproof an all-wheel drive system as there can be. And we've taken in these cars with plus 200,000 miles. They might have power windows that don't go up and down, but the all-wheel drive system still works. Let's take a look at this particular car, 1,000 miles. You never know. It's very low miles, but it could be the roughest 1,000 miles a car's ever seen, especially for a high-performance car like this, one that features 330 horsepower, 270 foot-pounds of torque. Now, of course, you're going to get Xenon headlights. We've had Xenon headlights on all of our G and above sedans since 2003, and it's got that great aerodynamic look. Again, that cool finish on the Enki wheels. It's actually Enki who makes all the high-performance wheels for Infiniti. It's been that way for many years. Inside here, we've got that great sport interior. Now, this car hasn't even been washed or anything like that. It was just traded in, but with 1,000 miles, you can expect it's going to look like brand new. And yes, it does look like brand new. Feature I've been fond of for many years is that the if you notice, when I move the tilt and telescopic steering here, the entire gauge assembly goes up and down with the steering wheel. That way, the steering wheel, when you move it up and down, doesn't block your view of the gauges. People who are unusual heights, you know, very tall or very short, will appreciate that feature a lot, because a lot of times that steering wheel will block and you can't see exactly what's going on. You're always ducking under there to try and see just how fast you're going. And so it's also telescopic steering. So you can get your seat comfortable first and then bring the steering wheel to you. Magnesium paddle shifters, that's part of the sports package. These big, thick side bolsters, and then the thigh extensions right here. It's nice, the two-tone stitching. I mean, I love these sports seats. You know, I've always joked that home furnishings would do well to emulate sports car interiors, and it's no joke. I mean, this would be the most comfortable chair in your house. Come take a look around back. Open up a trunk. Before we do that too, the new name, Q60S, I would imagine you're going to see a lot of former G37s coming to this new Q60S logo, being that it's the same car, but it is a new name. They do look, and they are exactly the same as their predecessors, roughly the same price. This one's about $50,200 at MSRP, and since it was just traded in, although we don't have a firm price on it yet, obviously it's still going to be $40-something thousand. The trunk on this one, spacious for what it is. I mean, it's a high-performance sports car. The rear seat does fold down so that you can load it for bear. It does feature a little emblem here that tells you can put 2 sets of golf clubs in there. And yes, having driven these for years and years, all you have to do is take the driver out of it. You lay the driver down independently, and the first bag fits very nicely. The second one you have to put in at an angle, but it absolutely can be done. And then for us, we like to use carts, and so all you have to do if 2 people are going and you want to take carts with your bags, just pull down the seat and lay them down in where the former back seat was. The back seat actually has fairly good room, but the slope of the roof limits the headroom, obviously, and so I wouldn't consider it a spacious rear seat by any stretch of the imagination as far as adults go. But for younger kids, the legroom is actually not horrible, and so the kids can be very comfortable in a coupe, believe it or not. It's just the headroom that's pinched in a little bit. Wheelbase is very similar to the sedan, and so you can expect the same interior length. So as far as that goes, it's actually, again, it's not half bad. I'm going to jump on the other side. Let's take a look inside. Infinitis have that kind of raspy growl to them that is either hit or miss. A lot of people come to us thinking, well, you're a Japanese car, I like Lexus, so I'm going to compare Lexus to Infiniti, and they're turned off by Infiniti. They're like, God, your exhaust is so light. These 2 big exhaust outlets in the back, and these great summer tires, which are great for handling, but they're also loud compared to other tires. And so the combination of loud tires and loud exhaust makes for a loud car. And then, of course, it's such an intense car. It's a very visceral, kind of feel it in your tendons kind of car. And so over bumps, it's a little harder driving. In fact, it's a lot harder driving than maybe a conventional Lexus sedan or Acura sedan or something like that. And so a lot of people you'll read will say, you know, I just don't like it. It's a little bit bone jarring for me. Other people are coming to us having driven other kinds of high-performance sports cars, and they like the idea of like an M3 BMW or a Chevy Corvette or something like that, and they go, you know what, this is like the very best of what's available in an exotic performance car in the $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 range, but with that legendary Japanese quality. And of course, Infiniti has a wonderful warranty. 4 years, 60,000 miles, bumper to bumper, 6 years, 70,000 miles on that 330 horsepower powertrain. And so again, with 1,000 miles, you're going to get the full weight of all of that. But this car is significantly less expensive than its more exotic counterparts. And you say, well, you know, an M3 is a lot nicer than a G-Series coupe or Q60S as this one is. Is it? You know, I mean, if you drive them both, the BMW has a winning personality. I love the BMW. I love M3s. I think they're wonderful. But I don't think it's that much nicer than the G37. or in this case the Q60. And so the over the lifetime of that car, you know, when the M3 gets 50, 60, 70,000 miles on it, you kind of have to weigh the fact that they're enormously expensive to own and service when they're outside of warranty. Infinitis are pretty brainless outside of warranty. Infiniti might be the very best built performance car that there is. I mean, their reliability takes a back seat to nobody, especially when it comes to powerful cars. This particular car is a neat opportunity. Obviously, it's 1,000 miles on an already wonderful car. Yes, this car has been out since 2008, so it's been around a while and it hasn't changed as much as the look. You know, a lot of cars have gone through radical body style changes, and you go, well, you know, the body style on that is a little bit aged compared to some of its competition. Yeah, but it's already a great looking car. It has a lot more power than most cars in its class still. And again, with the benefit of all-wheel drive on a rear-wheel drive platform, it's something that you're just not going to find anywhere else. You owe it to yourself to at least drive one, even if you're not in the market for a used one. It's just a neat opportunity to do something a little bit different. If you'd like any information, again, we haven't priced the car yet, but if you'd like to get a price or make sure that it goes through the shop the way we expect it to, anything at all, please don't hesitate to give me a call. My name's Joe Tunney here at Infiniti of Kirkland. You can reach me at 425-821-1600 or just drop me an email at joet@infinitiofkirkland.com.